So thinking about the first of those questions in a little bit more detail, is there an issue here? You might say, well, no, walked into the room, he had to walk into the room, there isn't really an issue there. I'll give you a few prompts that are the kind of things that are in my mind when I look to think, is there an issue here? And these are the kind of things that I'd like to consider. Where could we reduce cost without reducing the effectiveness of this thing that's happening? Is there a way to actually increase that effectiveness maybe without increasing cost? Are there things here that I could make more efficient? And that might be, could I reduce steps? Could I reduce time, etc.? There we see. Can I de-skill this process? Now, I don't know if de-skill is a term you've thought about very much, but if I could make this process so that somebody who doesn't have to do 5 years of training could get a very similar quality result with only 1 year of training, then I would be de-skilling it. If I could make the process such that somebody could do this at home rather than have to go into, in my world, a hospital or go to a specialist to have this done, that would be de-skilling. And there are many things in the world that have been de-skilled over time. Where could I reduce burden on people? Where could I just make it easier, maybe less stressful, to actually do this thing? Where could I improve lives? I work a lot in the healthcare world, as you know, so a big question is, where can I save lives or reduce morbidity or mortality? But also you could just see, well, where can I just make people's lives better? That would be a great innovation. And one that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before, but certainly you've experienced, which is, where can I add delight? In the consumer products world, the consumer products manufacturers are always looking to delight you with their new product. Think about what Apple does. They're constantly adding delight and smiles to their products to make you want more Apple products and the newest and greatest versions. So delight is something that consumer products companies are always looking to add to their product lines. So those are just some prompts for the kind of issues I might look for. So then once we've said, well, there is an issue here, and I think there is something that could be improved, I do the 5 whys. Now, it doesn't always have to be 5 whys, but we kind of ask why until we can ask why no more, to get to the underlying root cause or the underlying issue. Why has somebody got a Band-Aid on their arm? Well, because they needed a Band-Aid. You could stop there. But equally, I would say, well, why did they need the Band-Aid in the first place? Well, that's because they cut themselves. Well, why did they cut themselves? Well, because a screwdriver slipped. Well, why did the screwdriver slip? Because they were using it incorrectly, or because it didn't have a good purchase on the screw. So now I want to try and redesign something, or redesign a process, or change education, or try and de-skill a process so that we don't have to use the Band-Aid in the first place. That would be a better outcome. Sometimes you can ask people, well, why did you reach for the blue one and not the red one? And you may get a good answer, because that's a different size and I needed it for X, Y, and Z. You may get a very lucid and sensible answer, and you should write that down. You should absolutely capture it. Other times, and this is where it really gets interesting to me, people say, well, I don't know, it's just always been that way. That's the way I was trained. That's just the way we do it. We've always done it that way. And I don't think that's a very good answer. And that prompts me to ask, well, why does it have to be that way? Does it still have to be that way? Is there a better way? Asking why, literally in our minds, leads us to what we call the root cause of why something happened. So if I see somebody wearing a Band-Aid, I don't just go, they're wearing a Band-Aid. I wonder, why are they wearing a Band-Aid? They must have cut themselves. Well, why did they cut themselves? Because they were using the wrong tool to do a job and it slipped. Now I'm thinking, wow, could I make the tool better so that they don't have to wear the Band-Aid? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So keep asking why until you can really ask why no more, like I did in the Band-Aid example, and you have what's called the root cause. The root cause in my example was the tool slipped. The root cause is important because we don't want to just come up with a better Band-Aid if we could come up with a better tool or a better screwdriver, whatever the problem may be, at its root. And root cause is an important concept in many, many aspects of engineering, and it helps us get to how we solve the right problem.